You know, when we talk about retirement, we think about relaxing on the beach, going for holidays, no more work stress, everything that's the exact opposite of what we would experience in a working life. But today I'll be talking about 10 uncomfortable retirement truths. And it starts off with this. You don't know when you will die. Indeed, it is something that no one can answer. I think you probably already can guess on it already. And in my field of work, I always have to ask this question to make certain assumptions in retirement planning, correct? And as we know in Singapore, average life expectancy is about 33 point something years. This curve has been consistently climbing, correct? As of now, maybe it's already 84 years, who knows? I guess when I'm at the age of 55, it could be 90 years or 95 years. Nobody really knows when he or she will die, and it is also very possible that we will also outlive our resources. That is why understanding the government pension that you have, which is in Singapore CPF, is very important. I have a lot of tutorials on CPF, and one plan in particular, the escalating CPF Life plan, is able to solve not only longevity issues but also inflation issues. In some way, there's a first layer of security to prevent this question of if you outlive your resources, because again, we never know when we will die. That is a contrary to the second point. You may die earlier than you think. Take a look at this finding over here. Losing a spouse makes men 70% more likely to die within a year. Contributing factors to that are religion, race, and even the spouse's cause of death. The widowhood effect is generally believed to be a problem, primarily affecting closely bonded elderly couples. I happen to know such a similar instance whereby one passed on after the other. Within a year or not, I can't quite remember, but it seemed to be a very short span of time. This reinforces, even though we are healthy right now, if our other half suddenly goes, our mental well-being and ability to continue to live happily might deteriorate faster than we think. Sometimes in my field of work, I come across this whereby someone buys a big legacy insurance like $1 million for the surviving spouse. And knowing this fact of one spouse dying shortly after the other really shows certain questions to the use of it. What's the point if I only have 1 year to live and you leave me with $1 million? That's not going to happen to every situation, but I guess the main message from this sub point is that treasure your life, treasure your happiness. Time is shorter than you think. If you're at the age of 55 already, you roughly only have 10,000 days alive. 10,000 days is just 27.3 years. Tell that to yourself and tell that to your partner. The third uncomfortable truth about retirement is that medical expenses will likely start to pile up. If you're a young working adult right now, you haven't seen too many hospital claims, hospital visits before, this may be hard to comprehend. With that, I'd like to ask you a question. Take a guess as to how long more an elderly stays in hospital versus someone who is younger. The answer? Almost double the duration. This is a finding by MOH. It's mentioned that the average stay in public hospitals for someone of the age of 65 and above is 6.9 days. Compared to someone who is age of 65 and below of 3.9 days, that is almost the double of numbers of days of stay. Why is that so? Is the condition more serious when we get to an elderly age? Is it more chronic? Is it harder to recover? I think these are all valid contributing factors, which reinforces you need to have proper insurance. First and foremost, MediShield Life, which is compulsory in Singapore, the premium would start to climb at every age band, which means also the deductions from your MediSave will start to climb up as you age. Take note again, this premium rate is non-guaranteed and it will be likely revised with a higher GST and a higher premium rate down the years. But actually, this is still a small figure compared to private medical insurance if you have one already. I can't name specific names, but as you can guess, if you look at your insurance brochure from your private medical insurance, you will realize that from the age of 60 onwards, the total premium on your base plan and your rider will be in thousands. Speaking to here, there is a common misconception about insurance. Insurance may not be able to save you medical costs. Rather, insurance is there to give you certainty that your retirement cash outflows to medical expenses is predictable. Using a premium that you can see, you can actually shelter yourself from an unexpected 5 or 6 figure hospital bill that could wipe your entire retirement savings away. That is the key reason you cannot stinge on insurance premiums, especially when you age. And if you are young right now, what you can do is to plan enough resources so that you can sustain the insurance, especially when you become old and stop working. The fourth uncomfortable truth about retirement is that you will never know how much is exactly enough. This feeling of not being sure if it's enough or not impacts almost everybody. Whether you have 100,000, 1 million or 5 million, I guess the question will still be at the back of your mind. The reality is that once you start to see your savings dwindle from retirement expenses, it can get scary. That is why in my practice, I always focus private clients' attention onto retirement income and not the retirement cash that they have. Once you have income, you can spend at peace because that feels like an amount that is rationed out already for your monthly consumption. On the other hand, for cash, you're not too sure what to do. You're not too sure if you continue to consume it downwards, will it become zero? And as you can guess, if you're retired and that cash savings becomes zero, you are in big trouble. It is the fear of going broke when you're old that really consumes a lot of retirees in how they enjoy their retirement. And there's a stark contrast to the fifth uncomfortable truth about retirement, is that you may leave too much behind. I've came across this book, Die With Zero, even done a video on it before. And the concept is ideally you consume your last dollar at your death. Life, as explained by this author, is about experiences, and dying with money means that possible experiences were missed out. Some people may not like this idea too much, especially in Asia or in Singapore's context, because we are quite used to leaving something behind for our dependents. But take note again, in Singapore-wise, most, if not everybody, is a homeowner, which means on the last day of your life, you are leaving behind your home already. It could be 500,000, 1 million, $2 million. Whatever the amount is, that is still a sizable amount to leave behind already. How many of us would be willing to downgrade when we are old? How many of us would like to use reverse mortgage to consume out their property and get payouts from our leases? I think this is the minority of cases. And even if you can't accept dying with $0, at least understand that you're going to leave behind a house, you're going to leave behind your CPF to your dependents. That could be more than enough already. The sixth uncomfortable truth about retirement is that you may need 90% of your current income. I use the word may because there are only possibly two groups of people that would fall into this problem. The first is that if you are currently right now having a low savings ratio, which means you're already spending 90% of your income, then indeed this problem must be faced. If you have been living a simpler lifestyle, whereby you're only spending 50% of your income, then quite possibly you won't need 90% of your income at retirement. You probably only need 90% of your expenses at retirement. The second group of people are those who still have huge property loans in their retirement years. I'm not too sure if you know about this, but when you take a new mortgage loan to get 75% loan to valuation, the cap is to age 65. But if you do a refinancing, you can actually do it up to age of 75. Age 75, would you still be working? I guess for most of us, the answer is quite likely no. Which means either the property mortgage is still consuming down on your retirement savings, or your children need to shoulder some burden of that loan. Or the last point is that you may be forced to do a downgrade. At this current moment, many are taking aggressive loans in their 40s. They're taking a $2 million loan and stuff. And it feels like the concept of work being finite is conveniently forgotten. So do not get into that trap. Make sure you're able to keep your expenses tight in retirement and the entire equation will be easier. The seventh uncomfortable truth about retirement is that CPF Life is not enough for most. Most Singaporeans believe they can rely on CPF savings to cover their retirement costs comfortably. Please bear in mind, CPF Life's definition or purpose is to provide a basic standard of living for retirees. The keyword is basic. And sometimes our sense of basic is also warped. As someone who lives in a landed home, having a maid is already basic. As someone who lives in a rented flat, you will realize the answer is very different. It could simply just be, I want my own room. Basic standard of living for retirees is very likely for the latter group, which means again, CPF Life full retirement sum is not likely going to satisfy most of our expectations. Aim instead for the enhanced retirement sum, which is 1.5 times that of full retirement sum. In that way, you can eke out a bigger cash flow from CPF Life. The eighth uncomfortable truth about retirement is that no investment is bulletproof. Blue chip companies can falter, and the best example now is actually Credit Suisse. Back in 2007, this was a 300 billion company. Right now, it's only $3 billion, losing 99% of its value over the last 15 years. Any company that you see right now could be doing well, but may disappear in 15 or 20 years' time. The best way to protect against this is to diversify your holding and not be over-concentrated in any particular company. It's far better also to be in diversified funds or ETFs, because quite simply when it's diversified, it can never become zero. Properties in this aspect may appear to be less risky, unless of course that 99-year lease has fully decayed, but that's a debate for a future time. Most, if not all properties in Singapore will not see a 99% loss in value. This relates back to the previous point. CPF Life or government pension is quite likely the safest investment you can make. Have a foundation level there and then stack upwards as to where you can get retirement income sources from. The ninth uncomfortable risk in retirement is that some risk is worth to take. There's this Chinese saying, 活到老学到老, which also means keep learning when you are old. Learning requires you to take risk. Learning how to dance, learning how to use new technology, learning the new markets, learning the new workplace. My personal opinion is that living becomes fulfilling when you're not too overly cautious. And if you agree on that, help me smash the like button and share this video to someone who should also hear this message. Regarding taking risk investments, do note also that if you keep all your money in fixed deposits, it is certainly to get eroded by inflation. I've actually covered this in this previous tutorial. I'll leave towards the end of this presentation also. The key part is that right now, inflation is 6%. That's why the fixed deposit is 4%. But when inflation goes back to 3%, you can also guess that your fixed deposit will revert back to 1+%. In the game of money, risk-free can actually be dangerous. The 10th uncomfortable truth about retirement, which is quite possibly the biggest one also, is that you may struggle to find purpose. I've actually done up this quadrant to explain what we derive when we are actively working. On the top left, you'll see job. That means your work gives you responsibility. On the bottom left, income. When you work, you are looking to get paid, you're looking for income to fulfill your expenses. On the top right, there is ambition, because quite simply, some people are already financially free, but they have goals, they have a drive, they want to achieve something. And last but not least, on the bottom right, identity. Many of us, when we work, we get this identity. Whether you're a teacher, lawyer, doctor, engineer, this identity makes you feel useful. The key problem is this. When we get to retirement, we lose many of these quadrants. And if identity is also lost, you will realize that someone's mental health could suffer very quickly. This in turn can lead to relationships souring. The joke I always have with my wife is that when I reach the age of 65, I hope that I'm a grandfather. I would like that role actually, because that in itself gives me a very big purpose. I don't want to go to Cancun for 6 months. I don't want that. I don't mind going for 3 weeks. I think that's fun. But other than that, I want to be actively involved in doing something with my family that I think would be something that keeps me waking up happy every day. Again, if you agree, smash the like button and check out this previous tutorial I have on semi-retirement. You watching right now, you may be slightly younger and thinking about retiring early. This concept of semi-retirement might intrigue you and is something that I'll recommend. Click on this link and I'll see you over there. Take care as always. Goodbye.